Oh, hi, how's it going? Hey, I'm Wren. You might not know who I am, and that's totally cool. I'm a filmmaker, visual effects artist, engineer type person. I'm on the internet, but you know what I love more than anything else? That is one-wheeling. And I'm here at the TheFloatLife headquarters today because...
What you gonna do? Rep set, yeah, we fresh to death. From east to west, float on my friends. Rep set, yeah, we fresh to death. From east to west, float on my friends.
I am getting outfitted with a couple new upgrades, but really I wanted to show you about my setup that I one-wheel with every day, and I literally mean every single day. I don't have a car right now. I literally commute to work on this thing. I've put 1,000 miles in the last 2 months just riding a one-wheel every day. This has been a transformative element in my entire life. It's probably no surprise to you if you know me that I'm obsessed with one-wheeling. It is absolutely true. I have been one-wheeling for 5.5 years now. It was like spring 2016, I got the V1. And you can actually still see a component from that right here. I've got the original V1 bolt in the side of my one wheel here. And that's not, I didn't do that intentionally. I was just like fixing stuff one day and I lost my bolt and I was like, man, okay, I don't ride my V1 anymore. So I just took the bolt out of that and I put it in here, but then that created a thing. I ended up like torquing the hub blocks on my V1 one time trying to ride it. Anyway, that's a long story short to say that I've been riding a while. This I've got here is, in my opinion, the most upgraded and advanced one-wheel XR you can possibly have today. And there's a lot that goes into that. And I'm gonna tell you all about it. Let's start with the tire. This is the Burris Trail Pro. I have been riding the Hoosier T2 tire for the last year or 2 years, and I love that tire because it's a nice combination of really grippy off-road treads, these are treads, not yarn. And I love how nimble it is. It's got that sort of curvy feel, a little bit more of that rounded profile, which gives you a little bit more ability to have carvy lines, and I love that. It's a lot of fun to be able to carve back and forth. I'm not a fan of the stock Vega tire. Not too many people are. Some people like the sort of stability you get from it. I feel like I'm riding a rolling pin, like I'm frickin' kneading dough anytime I'm riding the original Vega tire, just because it's just a block. This tire I tried out, not for the first time yesterday, but it felt like the first time. I basically put, I don't know, I think we did 10 miles or so like this yesterday, maybe it was 12. And not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. So I was like, you know what, Jeff? He was wanting to put the tire on, and I was like, go for it. I'm ready for it. I need a new tire anyway. So the Trail Pro promises a more stable ride at speed while still giving you that nimble feel. So you got the tire. That's like sort of the main component of the one wheel to begin with. It is your point of contact with the ground. It is how all of your riding is going to be dictated with how you go over it. You know, bigger tires, you get less torque, but you can get higher speed and more ability to go over terrain. But moving on from the tire, I think the other main thing that is very visible about this whole setup, and if you've watched any of these Rep Your Set videos before, you've seen the WTF rails, which stands for, wow, they're fast. That's what it stands for. No, I honestly, of course it stands for something else other than that because these are wicked. When I first saw these, I was so jealous. I was like, those, I get it. It lowers your center of gravity below the axle of the tire. It inherently creates a more stable ride. But what I did not anticipate before getting these rails is the fact that they're more comfortable. That's the closest thing I can describe riding these W's, is that it's a more comfortable feeling for these reasons right here. Now, Jeff thinks it's not as important as dropping the center of gravity, and he's probably right. I mean, he's freaking Jeff. But like, I don't know, having the perpendicular force direction going up in the direction of your legs here, it's a more comfortable ride because that means you're relying less on friction between the grip tape and your shoes to keep you on the board. And now it feels like every time I ride a regular flat rail, it feels like my feet are gonna slip off because you got like a slight angle to your feet and legs to the foot pad. Now with the W rails, it's more perpendicular. You got that 90-degree angle. It's more solid, gives you more control. It's a more comfortable ride. I love it. You do have one major downside to the W rails, in my opinion, and that is the fact that it actually adjusts the angle of the controller inside of this. It creates a situation where it thinks it's higher than it is, and it means the nose is going to be a lot lower than it is. And so in order to ride these things comfortably, you have to put it into the custom profile settings with the nose at a +3, which is nuts. That's so high. But that just barely gets you back to equilibrium for riding these things. And it also, I think, kind of does change the riding profile a little bit. You're now having to the board's gonna just act a little bit differently. And I've not really had a problem. I've been riding these rails since the summer and I've loved them. I've not had any problem with sort of clearance, but maybe that's just because I know how to like compensate for that. But nonetheless, it is one of those annoying things. I want to be back on mission rather than custom settings. And now TheFloatLife has a brand new product that does exactly that. And it's called the Tilt Kit. What it does is it actually replaces the metal heatsink plate of the controller inside this whole front section here. And it mounts the controller inside of the whole module at a different angle. It takes it back to the default angle. And now with this thing in mission, it'll ride level. Look at this. It's hard to describe if you don't really know what I'm talking about, but like when you're going backwards, the tail lifts up, like you're in extreme elevation. And then when you're going forward, the nose drops a lot, like you're gonna just nose drag by default. It's kind of nuts. And so the Tilt Kit basically makes these W rails like normal rails again. So that's the whole idea behind it. It's a block of metal. It's even purple anodized. I believe it's anodized. I'm pretty sure it's anodized. And you know what? It's fancy. You're never gonna see it. It says float on, my friends, but it's a nice touch in my opinion. And more importantly, it's the utility of it. And I'm very excited to finally have that. And so that's kind of like the front foot pad here. And we'll get to these little things here in a minute, but let's get to the back first. This is a Cush wide foot pad from TheFloatLife. And I'll be honest, I've never used a single Cush pad in my life. Sorry guys. I've been a craft and ride bro for the last several years. Nick, Mike, you guys are homies. I've always loved them and I don't have any problem with their foot pads. I honestly really like their One Tail Extreme Pro. What's the product name? It's the One Tail Extreme something. One Tail Extreme. That's what I've been rocking for a long time. I love the aggressive feel of the One Tail Extreme. But you know what? I was riding around yesterday on Jeff's board and he had the Cush wide on it. And maybe it was because I learned a new trick. I learned the S spin and that was really cool. I don't know, there's something about it that I was like, maybe I can try it out. The big advantages of this is that it's a urethane material. It's supposed to absorb some of those like micro vibrations a little bit. I've also got the lifesavers here on the side, but you have to install these with the tire itself because it actually slips over the rim. And so if you are doing tricks or any sort of drops and it lands on the side or you land too hard, you can actually crack the rim of the motor plates here. And that's bad. Then you're not gonna have a good seal with the tire, you're not gonna keep any air, it's just a broken one wheel at that point. So these are supposed to help save the rims, hence the lifesavers. For the first time in years, I have now gotten rid of a Fender. I held on to it for a long time because I ride the streets of LA. It's kind of gross. I call it street salsa. You know what I mean? Where you get it like up your leg and whatnot. And so because of all the street salsa and street meat marmalade, you kind of don't want to have that on you. And so you have a Fender to keep all of that off there. The main thing though, for me, is that I do a lot of trail riding. And when you're going without a Fender, you end up with like little bits of gravel and sand and rocks that get up on the foot pad and they get underneath your foot. And now, suddenly you have how the Egyptians built the pyramids. You've got all these little rolling bearings underneath your feet and your feet slide off. I've had it happen, it's painful, and it's because you get this dirt underneath your feet. That's the whole point around these. These are the shorties. They're from This Fun Wheel in partnership with 3D Way. Brian, thanks for hooking me up with these. It's doing just enough to prevent the street salsa from getting the chips of my legs too damp, but it's also preventing all of the little dust particles and rocks and gravel from getting underneath my feet and giving me a bad day. To be completely honest, I don't feel that strongly against a Fender. I'm just trying it out. I've been riding a one wheel for coming up on 6 years now, and it's kind of nice to switch things up every now and then. When I got into one wheeling, I was on the V1 and had a max range of like 6 miles. And I was so into it, I didn't want to stop. 6 miles was never enough. We had chargers, we were constantly plugging in like a Starbucks and going back on the road. We'd get like 20 miles in a day. And that was hard because you had to wait for it to charge back up and you'd get through it in like half an hour and then you'd have to charge back up again. Well, the XR came out and suddenly the range was like 15 miles and it was like, oh my God, I can go so much further. It was an enabling factor to fun. It was incredible being able to just go further. It opened up so many more possibilities for where you could go, the sort of trails you could ride and still make it back. Because I was used to going 3 miles and be like, I have to go home or I'm gonna be gone forever. Well, then the XR came out and with that battery, I was able to come back and go out again. It was great. But then I started realizing I still wanted more range. I'm learning slowly but surely that I just want as much range as possible at all times. And so when Chai Battery Systems revealed the CBXR battery, I was instantly incredibly curious. Everyone wants to be on the board more, and that is why I and so many others are excited for the GT coming out. We'll see how good it is, but I imagine it'll be pretty great with maybe some quirks. But the range, if it actually is able to deliver 30 miles, is a big deal. And that brings us to the final bit here. I don't want to show you. It's on the back side here. These are the bang bumpers from the TheFloatLife, but not just that. Look at this color scheme. Black and yellow? I wonder who else has a black and yellow color scheme. That's right, Corridor. This is a fresh collab between Corridor and the TheFloatLife. That's right. They have created their own swirl pattern here based off of the signature Corridor colors. And this isn't it. We've got a whole other set. Jeff, bring them over here.
I'm trying to find them.
It should be right there in front of you. Right there. Look down. Look down. Look down.
What, these ones?
Yeah.
These guys right here?
Yeah.
Ooh, ah. How nice.
They are pretty nice. These are sexy.
They look great, man.
Yeah.
Super pumped on these.
We've been talking about this for a while too. I remember talking with Bodie last year about this, and oh man, these are sweet. I'm more of a black and yellow guy myself, but you know what? They all still function the same. My favorite thing about them is the handle, to be completely honest. Like all of the fancy stuff about how it's all durable, you can do all these crazy nose drags and all this stuff, like whatever. But being able to have the nice, comfortable grip for your fingers is a pretty big win for me. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm rocking right now, but there's one more thing in here, and those are the Grizzly ceramic bearings. They've got the heart of a wolf. Wait, no, this bear. Grizzlies are bears. They're ceramic, they're harder than steel, they'll last longer, they'll be smoother for a longer period of time. They're supposed to be just smoother than steel bearings. That's the advantage of ceramic bearings. In my mind, I have the best one wheel you can possibly get right now. Everything I just laid out, this is like, this is the wheel to have if you want to have the best. I'm now just stoked to go ride. I want to try this thing out. You told me it's gonna require a couple miles to like break it in, and I'm like, can I just go do that now? Are we done here? I just want to go frickin' break this board in. Wait, I wonder if this will bounce up high. Not that high. I'm so happy. My board is like back up and running and it's great. I guess there's not really anything else to do now except for leave. Oh, that was easy. Okay, fair. All right, see you guys later.
Perfect.
Hey you, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching this video. We really appreciate your viewership. Let us know what you want to see next. Check that video out if you got some time, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you aren't yet. Float on, my friend.